Hi, visual arts student. We're going to look at space as one of the 7 elements of art today. So you'll have already watched the video and you'll have an idea of what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to go through it quite quickly and give you a few examples and then an assignment. So space is when 3 dimensions are created, or the illusion of 3 dimensions are created on a 2-dimensional space. So in other words, it's when we can look at a painting or a drawing and we can see what's supposed to be in the background and in the foreground, and it actually looks like that. How does an artist trick the eye so that it looks 3-dimensional when really it's on a canvas or a piece of paper, which is a 2-dimensional surface? There's a number of different ways that artists can do this. Put myself here. Okay, so there are 2 types of space in art. There's positive space and there's negative space. So in this picture here, we're focusing on the positive space, and then we see the 2 people looking at one another, and then the opposite is true over here. We're focusing on the negative space, and so we see like a trophy cup. In this picture here, I didn't leave much room for my face here. We've got a 2D flat surface and a 3D sculpture here, which would be giving us the illusion here from the way it's been drawn of having height and width and depth. Several of the tools you'll use for creating illusion are going to be overlapping, changing size and placement, linear perspective, relative hue and value, and atmospheric perspective. The ones that we're going to focus on in your picture today are going to be the overlapping, the changing size and placement, and linear perspective. We're going to look at the simplest type of perspective, which is 1-point perspective. But let's just talk about overlapping a little bit first. So in this picture that they're showing here, we can tell which things are supposed to be in front, like this bowl or whatever it is in front of the person, because it overlaps. The overall composition appears to be quite flat, the only subtle signal being the overlapping of garments to tell us who's in the front and who's further back. Changing the size and placement, well, we're looking at this horse and rider. Then they're large, and that gives us a cue that they're closer to us than, say, this horse and rider, who's quite a bit further smaller. And so we get the idea that they're quite a bit further away. And that's one way that we can take something that's 2D, like a canvas, and show a 3-dimensional space. So relative hue and value are also important clues. So those have to do with color. So close objects tend to exhibit stronger, more saturated hues. For example, in these trees, we can really see the strong orange in the fall foliage. And then in the background, the colors are more muted, and we can't really make out the intense saturation quite so much. So that's another way that artists give us clues about what's in the foreground and what's in the background. Atmospheric perspective combines several features. It operates when objects are placed in the upper half of the page and understood to be far away. and they lack contrast, detail, and texture, so in the upper half here. And so we can understand that these things are further away because they're closer to the horizon. Not only do the most distant objects tend to be in the upper half, the areas intended to be shown as distance will be either extremely dark or light in value and not be brightly colored. On the other hand, detail, texture, hue, and value and contrast are more likely to appear in the lower half of the picture plane, as they do here. And then there's linear perspective. I'll figure out where to put my face there. So that refers to the illusion that objects appear to grow smaller and converge towards a vanishing point at the horizon line. So if we looked at all the lines in this painting here, we could see that they're all going to be intersecting into a vanishing point. If we were able to use a ruler with this, we could follow these lines here, even the lines of all the tiles on the floor, and we could see how they all converge to a center point called the vanishing point, which is what we're going to do right now. So your vanishing point can just be any point you pick on your paper. It doesn't have to be dead center. You can do 1 point perspective with your dot up here or your dot over here or here. Doesn't really matter. But in this case, we're going to be drawing a picture that looks right down a hallway, so try to get it in the center. But just keep in mind that that's not a requirement for 1 point perspective. Now take your ruler and a pencil. I used a marker because I wanted you to be able to see what I was doing, but use a pencil so you can take these lines off afterwards. And just start drawing lines that intersect that vanishing point. Remember, you're going to erase these later, so make as many as you want. I started here with 2, but you'll see I made more. Okay, once you get a fair number of lines going through it, you can draw a square at the back. And this square is going to be the intersection here of some of these lines. So the vanishing point, in other words, should be at the center of your square. And this is going to be your back wall. So the smaller you draw your square, the further back it will appear. So you can make it a little bit bigger and then it'll just look like a shorter hallway. You could make it smaller and then it's going to look like a longer hallway. And don't forget to pause this video anytime you want to catch up. You don't have to try to keep up with me. I don't draw this fast either. Okay, so now I can see the floor starting to take shape. I colored it in yellow. You don't need to color it, at least not yet. You can color it later with pencil crayons or markers like I did, or whatever you want to do. And you can see how all the tiles or the lines of your floor are converging to this vanishing point, but you're going to erase these lines afterwards because they're not part of the tile, right? Then I went ahead and put in more lines that converged to the vanishing point so that I could put a ceiling in. Same thing, just on the top. Now this is the tricky part, and when I show you some of the other student work, you're going to see why this is tricky here. When you think about a window or a painting, the line of the top of the window or the painting is going to run perpendicular alongside the ceiling and the floor, right? So that's the way you need to draw those lines here. And this is going to be a painting, but it could have easily been a window, whatever you think. So you'll also need to be cognizant of putting in the features of your painting in a way that is also showing perspective, because if you were looking down this hallway, you would see this tree as being bigger than this tree, because you would be seeing this side of the painting would be further away from you. So you can pause and do that right now, or you can just do it later. So that's going to be one of your elements. I want you to put in, I think I said 2 paintings, but it could be a window and a painting. Then I want you to put something else in where you are able to show relative size. I decided to do some potted plants. So showing perspective by making this one a lot bigger than this one here, which is further away down the hallway. So it appears to me as though it's smaller, although it really is the same size. You don't have to do potted plants. Maybe you want to do furniture or anything, any kind of decor you want to do. So again, I can't erase all my lines because I drew them in with marker, but you're going to want to erase all of these guidelines when you're done, and then finish off your drawing, add more art, furniture, and decor, whatever you would like. I'm going to show you a few that were done by other students here in the past. Um, so, oh, okay, here's another one. This one is quite nice. It's got a painting of The Starry Night by Van Gogh, and possibly even a painting, The Last Supper. They've made some really nice attempts at doing walls and doorways here if you look at it really close. But I do want to look a little bit closer at this painting and show you where the problem with this one lies. So I've kind of blown it up a little bit here. And you can see that this line here is pretty perpendicular to the ceiling. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. But it falls apart down here. What they should have done, I'm just going to get a pen to use. What they should have done is had that bottom of the painting come down like that. So this one's not bad. It's hard to do this on here, but see, that would have been a better shape. It would have given you the idea that that painting was actually in that hallway. And if we look at this one here, that's not following the line of the ceiling at all. Make that go down, and then it's going to go perpendicular to the floor. So something along that line. I know these aren't really straight because it's drawing with my mouse, but something along that line would have made this perfect. But they did a really good job on the ceiling. I think there's something weird about the floor, but maybe that's just how they colored it. And there's another picture here that of course the same rule should apply to, right? This line is going to follow the line of the floor. So it's going to be more like that. Other than that, this one was really quite well done. That's your assignment. Draw your hallway, at least 2 famous paintings or recognizable paintings, a floor tiled or patterned, a ceiling tiled or patterned, and at least 2 pieces of decor so that you can show relative size. And that can be plants, furniture, Could be dogs, could be anything that you want to put in it. And that's it. When you get this done, you can upload it and we'll have a look at it.